Morning, folks. My name is Nitin Jayakrishnan. I'm the founder and CEO of Freehand.ai. For the next 25 minutes, I'm hopefully going to challenge a little bit of what you're thinking about AI agents, about enterprise deployments, and what's possible at scale, at global scale. I walked into Manifest today, and I was like, wow. That's a lot of companies. And AI is everywhere. If you're not out-caffeinated and out-pitched by 10 a.m., you're probably doing something wrong. Over the next 2 days, 3 days, you're likely going to be pitched AI agents and AI platforms and knowledge graphs all day. Everything is an agent. Everything is a knowledge graph. But for the next 25 minutes, I want us to sort of deal with and sit with one question. Can AI systems in your organization today, any one of them, truly automate an end-to-end process, including the exceptions, including all the unhappy cases, everything that falls off and needs to be dealt with? That is the reality of global operations. Any one process. Not a surface level recommendation, not an anomaly that is detected or highlighted, not a report that is generated, but truly an actual decision and execution of that decision where AI owns the outcome and is accountable for the outcome, where every step is traceable, where it acts with authority. Any one process in the enterprise. I've asked this question to hundreds of supply chain leaders, and the answer is kind of always the same. It's the data is messy. It is maybe the technology is not there yet. It is we'll get there someday. So let's cut through some of these theories and the noise and the marketing. And when you sort of step away from the marketing, there's actually two kinds of AI in the enterprise. The first is essentially chatbots that give you great answers. And some of them make great recommendations too. Here's what you should consider. That's what it says. Most AI copilots, most intelligent dashboards, every anomaly detector, every chatbot, that's what they do. And that's fun, that's cool, and in part valuable too. But ultimately, the onus is on your team. They still have to make the call, they still have to click the button, they still own the decision. The work doesn't shrink, if anything, it expands. You just added a really expensive, very chatty advisor to a process that's still manual. On the other hand, there is also AI that actually takes decisions and actions autonomously. AI that doesn't just suggest, AI that acts. And it's responsible for the outcome, it's accountable for the outcome. And here's the critical part. Every decision, every action it takes is traceable and auditable. The why, the trade-off, the precedent, it takes it into account. The gap between these two isn't intelligence. ChatGPT or Claude will not get you there. It will not close the gap. The gap is accountability. And accountability requires context. Let me show you what I mean. Let's step away from the theory for a minute. And let's walk through three real processes. 3 processes that happen in each of our businesses every day. And this gap, this disconnect will become apparent. 3 processes, 3 stories, 3 different parts of the business, but one common pattern that you'll recognize fairly quickly to be common. Let's talk about sourcing. You pull up Ariba, Coupa, Jagger, systems of record, right? We've been using them for many years. It's the system of truth where all our data resides. It says you've dual sourced a particular supplier. $1.2 million in annual spend, 2 suppliers. Clean, logical, and there is a table. Except, why was it dual sourced? The software doesn't know. The real story, your procurement manager, the category manager, made that call because of a quality incident 2 years back. It's in an email chain between him and the COO of the supplier. Nobody except him knows about it. There's no tagging or indexing of this email. And when that category manager leaves the company in 2 months, and he will, because procurement churn is a criminal 30% in America, that context walks out the door with him. Let's talk about supplier management. Your supplier relationship management system says supplier A is rated 3.2 out of 5. If you're an AI product or an algorithm or just an analyst, that looks like a clear find someone better, right? But the team has decided to actually continue with the supplier. Why? Because switching costs is like $400K, and their specialty coating process is sole sourced. And they've already hired a replacement for the engineer that they lost because of the quality incident they had. That rationale lives in a QBR deck. That's sitting in a Google Drive that nobody else knows about. So any new analyst or your shiny new AI analyst who looks at this data always comes to the wrong conclusion. Invoice payments, the bane of all existence. AP rejects an invoice. Your logistics carrier billed 14% accessorial surcharges. That isn't on the contract. Open and shut case, right? Except ops negotiated a verbal exception for overweight shipments during port congestion season. The carrier confirmed this over a call, and finance has no idea. And finance is sitting in India in shared services. So the invoice bounces, the carrier threatens to stop shipping, and it's holiday season. Your team spends 2 weeks resolving what should have been a non-issue in the first place, and it happens again next month. Every single person in this room has versions of these stories. The record says one thing, the software says one thing, the reality, it's something else completely. So here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody talks about. No software, no TMS, no ERP, no procurement system, no supplier relationship management system, and frankly, no AI solution capture the why, the how, and the so what of your decisions. Your systems know the what, the data. A mismatch is flagged, an invoice is received, a PO is confirmed, an ASN is received, and your spend is up 12%. These are facts. And they're necessary, but they're not sufficient. What actually drives your decision and therefore drives AI autonomy is something else entirely. Why you expedited that shipment to an important customer, not because of a business rule, but because it was peak season. Why that supplier always ships partial ASNs, not because they're incompetent, but because your MOQs don't align with their production cycles. How that exception was resolved the last time, that precedent should determine or at least inform how you handle it going forward. Your supply chains run on data and decisions that nobody has documented. That's not a failure of your people or your systems, it's a gap in infrastructure. Now here's the thing, that context is not missing. It exists, it's just trapped. It's in email threads where negotiation rationale actually lives. It's in documents and PDFs, bills of lading, contracts, a whole bunch of amendments, risk assessments, etc., that nobody reads after they've signed it. In Slack messages and Teams messages. It's in phone calls at 11 p.m. And all of this results in, we always handle this way because I know what this supplier did last summer. You see what I did there? There is a name for all of this. We call these decision traces. The why, the how, and the so what of every decision. Decision traces are ultimately what separate true autonomous processes from random recommendations. Without decision traces, AI can summarize your data, but it can never, ever own a decision, let alone execute it. Without decision traces, you have an intern. With decision traces, you have an expert. So the real question becomes, how do you capture these decision traces? And at scale, how do you make them actionable? And the answer is category-specific context graphs. This is how your software systems perceive your processes today. You have a straight line, a requisition, a PO, a shipment, a GRN or a receipt, an invoice, a payment, clean, sequential, and orderly. It's the golden workflow, the standard operating procedure. It's completely disconnected from reality. Your AP team flags an exception, but they don't know why procurement approved a premium rate last quarter. Your sourcing team builds an RFQ, but they don't know the accessorial charges that AP has been auto-approving for the last year. Tariff changes overnight, and your system, no system anywhere, connects that policy rationale to the contracts and categories it affects. This is the reality of enterprise operations. Right? And no amount of better AI agents or models will fix a broken information architecture. In reality, this is what your processes look like. It's not a straight line, it's a graph, it's a web. Suppliers connected to contracts, connected to lanes, connected to rates. Invoices linked to POs, linked to carrier agreements, linked to bills of lading. And woven through all of it is emails, text messages, calls, decks, documents, PDFs, things that don't get captured in software anywhere. Decision traces across the board. Every entity, every relationship, every signal matters. The ones with 20 years of experience, your experts that got to your company before you got there, when you and I were in diapers, they navigate this graph intuitively. A lot of this is context in their heads, but that's not scalable. And it doesn't survive turnover or retirement. And AI can't access it. You can build the infrastructure to capture it, though. And this is how you structure all of this chaos. 4 layers, each building on the one below. At the foundation is deep connectors and observability. You connect to everything. ERPs, TMSs, WMSs, AR systems, AP systems, supplier portals, market feeds, market benchmarks. But critically, you also connect to emails, documents, chats, calls, meetings, all of the unstructured data, because that's where the decision traces live. Layer 2, the entity model. Normalized relationships, suppliers, contracts, rates, lanes, invoices, all linked, all queryable. That is the skeleton. Layer 3, the category-specific context graph. That is key. It doesn't just understand procurement of a specific category like MRO or logistics. It understands how you do your job. It understands your negotiated rates, your exceptions, your patterns, your supplier's risk profile, your context, and your reasoning. That's what makes it your context graph. And at the top is decision memory. Captured traces, how exceptions are handled, why you expedited, how exceptions were resolved 2 years back, the trade-offs, and how you accepted them. Institutional knowledge, the system of record for institutional knowledge, made queryable. This is what serves up the data to AI to be accurate and auditable. Context makes AI actionable. What happens when agents built on this context actually take decisions and actually execute these decisions? When they can access this context Not just the records and the data, but the actual context. What happens? Agents cross the chasm. On the left, you have knowledge graphs. They've been around graph databases forever. Those get you smart recommendations. Any LLM plus a smart engineer, your AI team who reports to IT or to your chief AI officer, in the next year can build that chatbot, that recommendation engine that looked like magic a year back in a weekend. You can do this yourselves. You connect structured data to data entities, you normalize this, suppliers, contracts, invoices, and you get intelligent summaries. You ask a question, you get an answer. You don't need vendors, none of us, to do that for you. In the middle is the context gap, the infrastructure and the plumbing needed to cross the chasm. And on the right are AI agents built on this context graph, agents that take autonomous decisions, agents that execute autonomously. This is where AI validates past decisions, applies historic context, accesses decision traces, the why and the how you took decisions 3 years back, and acts with full attribution and auditability, and more importantly, with accountability. The distance between these two boxes on the left and right looks small on the slide. In reality, that's the difference between a chatbot demo on one hand and agents running global operations autonomously on the other. Thankfully, when we took this to market, we had discerning customers that trusted us. I want to welcome on stage Suja Chandra. Suja is a board member at Cardinal Health, at American Eagle Outfitters, at Jabil. She's also a board member at Freehand and a customer of ours. And when we took this to market, as all buyers should, she was skeptical. Welcome, Suja.
So, Nitin, great presentation, and I love what you're doing. So last year we were here in Manifest, and you were one of the very few handful of maybe 1, 2, or 3 that were talking about agentic at that time. So what if everybody starts talking about context graphs? So maybe you can reinforce one more time. Tell me again, what is the difference between context graphs versus regular agentic, and why is Freehand different?
Yeah, I was at Manifest last year, and you're right. I mean, there were 3 or 4 companies talking about agents, and today the same group of companies are all natively AI agent companies. And I'm going to make a prediction. I'm going to be back next year, and everybody's going to be talking about context graphs and why that's the plumbing that differentiates all of these companies. I think context graphs are the brain. AI agents are the hands and legs. Without the brain, you're a frog. With the brain, you essentially get AI teams and AI employees. Some of the boards that you sit on are customers of ours. And at these large global Fortune 100 companies, we've essentially gone in and replaced teams. We've replaced outsourced BPOs. We've helped in-market teams bring back operations from shared services. Now, there is a litmus test here, where if everybody starts talking AI agents and everybody says context graphs is how we differentiate ourselves, you should ask yourself one question. Does this agentic platform truly eliminate work? Not assist with work, not accelerate work, not make better recommendations, but truly eliminate work? If the answer is no, the vendor gets great points for marketing. If the answer is yes, if it does complete the process and a human can audit every step but not be in the loop for every step of that process, that's real agents with context graphs. And by the way, don't just take a demo for an answer like you did. Throw 1 million shipments at the vendor. Give them 300 suppliers. Give them 4 GB of emails and documents. And give them a week to turn around a proof of concept with your data and see if it works. Don't buy a demo.
100%, 100%. So I will tell you, this is for sure. We are in every executive leadership team, every boardroom, this is a conversation. How are we going to generate revenue from AI? How are we going to drive not just productivity, cost takeout? But Nitin, one of the other topics you've been hitting on is accountability. So in a typical enterprise context, usually an accountability is with a person, is a human being. Something goes good, and you reward them, you award them. And that's part of our jobs. And now you're saying the accountability is with a context graph and an agent? How does that work if something goes wrong?
Yeah. You know, enterprises are already used to doing this. All of you are. Shared services, BPOs, outsourcing has been a thing for 25 years. We all have global teams that we have outsourced certain processes to. And when you outsource something to a BPO or to your own shared services team, you hold them accountable. When AI agents can automate entire processes, you should be able to fire your freight audit and payment vendor and run invoice audit and payment and accounts payable completely autonomously. You should be able to run more procurement bids with a 0-person procurement team. You should be able to do supplier management, PO to ASNs, and just supplier relationship management without a team, right? And the reality of it is you should hold the vendor accountable, right? And legal accountability only gets you this far. Technical accountability, and the proof of that concept, when you see this with your own data, is where the magic lies.
This is a crucial point, Nitin. Usually, in where I sit, when we talk about AI and the considerations and the concerns around AI, we are more worried about hallucinations and bias, data privacy, model governance. But is what you're hitting on, it really resonates with me in the Freehand platform, which is the real concern, the real risk is decisions being taken without the full context. So what you have built and what you have successfully rolled out over the last 2.5, 3 years, it gives me the confidence that that's the case. Now tell me, as a board, what else should I look at from a Freehand?
Yeah, you're right. We've rolled this out globally in real production use cases, not in pilots in a boardroom. And we're not talking about 10, 15, 20% productivity boosts. We're talking about take a process and eliminate the work, near 100% complete autonomy. You're talking about dramatic cost reductions because the nature of work has changed. You're talking about carbon footprint impact, which is unreal relative to the marginal increments that we've seen in the past. And with that comes a whole bunch of these accolades. But one of the important questions that boards are asking is, why now? What's changing now? And I think one important distinction or a shift, and this is something that is a staggering statistic, which is if you take any knowledge worker's piece of work, it could be processing accounts payable, it could be planning, it could be procurement, etc. And you essentially say, how many labor hours does this take to do today? And it's a fairly, most planners, most finance folks would be able to give you a per hour rate that is blended globally, and you should be able to put a dollar value to it. In the last 2 years, the cost of tokens, which is the cost of AI to do that same job, has reduced by 10x and is likely to continue reducing in the next 5 years. What that means is if you need 100 labor hours, man hours, to do something, the same job is increasingly being done by AI agents at 1/10 to 1/100th the cost. And I think that's a framework that boards are already used to. You've got global operations, you have labor arbitrage, you're already thinking about bringing labor back and work back into America. And I think in that context, the shift is real. And I think, historically, procure to pay, operations in general, has not been the first adopter of technology, right? But every function is now leapfrogging from agents that suggest, agents that recommend, chatbots that are chatty, to agents that act. It's happening in sales and marketing, it's happening in HR and people management, it's happening in customer service and support, and it is happening in procure to pay, and in operations. Right? And
So I will say this, Nitin. I'm on multiple public and private boards. And the companies are in different stages of AI adoption. Certainly, when they are stuck in this chatbot and productivity focus, definitely agentic context graphs, productivity, not just productivity, cost takeout. This is a key focus for us.
Fantastic.
And procure to pay is not back office for me. It's operations. It's core to the operations of a company.
Absolutely. We are Freehand. Context is king, and AI with context eliminates work.